Dear viewers, we have now moved to our session, which will provide an academic perspective on the issue of diasporic media and the dynamics of identity, media work with regard to Europeans living outside of their country of origin. We have the honor to welcome today Laura SUNA. She is a research associate at the University of Siegen in Germany. And she has worked in several research projects on diasporic media use and media literacy. Amongst other things and communities, her work partly has also been related to Ukraine, which of course has particular topical importance these days. I would like now to give the floor to Laura for her analysis, and it will serve us as a useful contextual framework for our further, more practical exchanges later today, and also as grounds for developing research-based policy proposals that Europeans throughout the world want to bring forward on the basis of this conference. Laura, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. I will try to zoom a bit outside, but it's really hard after this really emotional and moving discussion. But still, I will touch the issue of Ukraine and the war in Ukraine as well, and you will see. Yes. First question. Who are migrants? So I will show you some insights from research on diaspora in Europe. In a public discourse, and we speak often about the digital diaspora. So we address, when we address migrants' media use, it brings specific expectations and opinion about the diaspora. But what does it mean? And do have migrants more digital skills than and are they really permanently online? We can see that more and more, and with the digitalization of Western societies, the media equipment of migrants is aligning with the equipment of the main society. So if we take, for example, a 40-year-old German woman, her media equipment would be similar to a German Turkish woman. But the routines of the media use and differ. Many of them are part, the next slide please. Many of them are part of transnational communicative networks. This means as well direct communication via phone calls and messaging services, but also this means participation in the cultural and socio-political events in the different countries outside the country of the living. And due to the digitalization, it's much easier to use cultural products from different countries, especially from the country of origin. And you can access, for example, newspapers or watch movies from your country, from all over the world. Further, we speak about the plural media repertoires of migrants. This means they are using really diverse and plural media sources, from digital media like news formats, social media outlets, accounts, and traditional media like TV channels and radio and local newspapers, from different countries and in different languages. That's really important to stress out that when we speak about diaspora, we have really multilingualism as a reality of the most of migrants. Many migrants have skills of different languages, at least 2, but most of them speak 3 or 4 languages. For example, English, Arabic, or for many migrants from the former Soviet Union, it's Russian. So they can access different media spheres, like, for example, different social media outlets like local and translocal, what was when we researched the Russian diaspora in Germany, we saw that they are using the Russian social media services as well as the German ones. So this is a really important point. Let me show you an example of the plurality of languages and media use on the next slide. Probably as part of diasporic community, you will recognize your media use patterns as well. Well, these are two snippets from my research on Latvian diaspora from 2014. And sadly, this example shows how long-standing this conflict between Ukraine and Russia, that sadly now is resulted in a war, is, even if it was back then not an issue for the most of the societies, but the Latvians in Germany were really afraid back then about what is happening in Ukraine. So you can read there are two snippets from an interview and a media diary where these two women are describing how they are using media. The first quote from the informant Sabine shows the multilingualism of media use. She's using Latvian, English, and German, and the different media types. She's using a news portal from Latvia and traditional media from Germany. As well, this quote is showing her fear from Russia that is common in the post-Soviet Latvian diaspora and discourse. We see the approval of the belonging as Latvian, and he's here distinguishing herself from others. The second example is of the 49-year-old Olga, shows besides the use of the Russian and Latvian TV channels in how far different media discourses are challenging identities and belonging. Olga is a Latvian Russian living in Germany and trying to negotiate her belonging between these two cultural and historical contexts. And these negotiation processes often take place in mediatized communication within their local and translocal network of friends and family. So besides the multilingualism and use of different sources from different countries and contexts are important catalysator for the development of media literacy that is strongly necessary in the context of fake news propaganda. So the last example of Olga shows the power of the comparison. She says that in the Russian TV's discourse is different from the Latvian discourse, and this point that she's negotiating between these discourses shows that yes, she has media literacy, and that could be one point in helping to in the context of fake news and propaganda we spoke about earlier. This brings to my next point. Next slide, please. What does these different media and language use patterns do with migrant identity, and how to approach the diaspora in this context? Yes, this might seem a little complex, or I don't know if you can see. Okay, slightly little small. Well, in the migration and communication studies, we emphasize that there is no one diaspora. There are different diasporic communities, and we developed in our research a typology and distinguished different types of migrant groups, which you can address with media, with diasporic media. Even if you can't see the picture, I will explain it shortly. We distinguished three groups. The first we named origin-orientated migrants, which we can say that their subjective sense of belonging marks their life in exile. These migrants named themselves like as Turks in Germany, Latvians in UK, or Moroccans in France. And their media use is also orientated to the land of origin. They use mostly media in their mother tongue and have intense contacts to other like-minded in their country of living. So, and they inform themselves really often about culture and politics in their homeland. The second group we called ethno-orientated. The name of this type indicates the feeling of belonging between as a dual identity, that between the country of origin and between the country of the where they are actually living. So in Germany, they would be call themselves like German Moroccans or German Turks or German Russians. So these negotiation between two identities, two contexts of belonging is really important there. So and their media uses is then similar to this negotiating. They are using both media from the country of origin, but concentrating as well as on the media in the country they are living. And there have, in difference to the first group, there are strong contacts as well to the local community, not migrant community, so to call. And the third group, we call them world-orientated, and I think it could be the group earlier we spoke about this expat community. These are people who are situated, they're belonging beyond the ethnic national belongings. So they are call themselves world humans or Europeans. And they are really transculturally networking using media and connections from different cultural contexts and in different languages. And yes, so if you address diaspora, you have to be aware that your audience consists of these three groups, which particular interests, media use, preferences, and language skills. In our research, we saw that this, we have to say that our research was before this refugee crisis, so to call crisis. So our research was on migrants who are living a bit longer in Germany as well, and that the biggest group was the second group, these people who are negotiating their identity in between the country of origin and country of living. And the group of world-oriented migrants are rather cosmopolitan, and they really provide a high level of digital literacy. So they are really using many different digital devices and sources. And yes, and I think that the state propaganda is really working on this first group on origin-orientated people who are only using one type of media and really orientates themselves to the country of origin. So yes, and in my experience, the state communication mostly orientates to state the diaspora communication orientates to this first group, because this group is one who's searching for information about the country of origin. But I think it's important to address these all three groups in order to yes, yeah, to have a good and different and manifold communication with diaspora. Okay, thank you. And I'm really looking forward to questions.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for this interesting insight and also for the useful structure you've given to what we mean when we actually talk about diaspora in the media context. I had one follow-up question for you right now. In the first session that was dedicated to strategic considerations, there was a strand that developed regarding the Russian information, or let's say disinformation space, and the impact of it also on the current events and as well as on lives of our societies in Europe in the future, and how to counter this best. I'm curious to hear your views on do you think it is possible, and if yes, then how, to build on this media agility, media versatility of diasporas to better reach out on sensitive issues with communities back home?
Yeah, I think we have to address them then in their own language. It's an important aspect as well, because many of this group of origin-orientated doesn't have such a good language skills on the, for example, German skills. So we have to somehow address them and reach them beyond these state propaganda. And I think it should be best if the local media would address them in their own language. Yeah.
Thank you. And one last question. Earlier today, we heard, I think, an important phrase that strong diasporas need strong media. What kind of role for specifically diaspora media outlets do you see in this, and what are the ingredients for a strong diaspora media to your mind, please?
Yeah, I think we have to think about the interests of these different groups of the diaspora, because I can speak about the Latvian diaspora here in Germany. Of course, there are many possibilities to get informed, but if you want it, but if you don't want to know, then the state is really hard to reach you. Then I think you have to go on many different levels to reach the diaspora. And strong diaspora it's of course the question from which perspective is it strong? Is it strong as a society outside the country, or is it strong for the country of origin? It's not so easy to answer.
Thank you for the useful nuance to this. Of course, these are very complex questions, and I hope we can find the time when we can dwell in more detail on those. But you have already indicated to us the ways in which we can reflect and sort of uncover the nuance when we're talking about diaspora and its media. Thank you, Laura SUNA from University of Siegen. Thank you very much. Right now, after a short break, we will return to our session on practical perspectives. So dear listeners, just get up, move a bit, get a breath of fresh air, so that we're ready for very practical case studies from a journalistic, editorial and publisher's point of view. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Thank you.